Hello and welcome to our viewers on ASI News broadcast, bringing you the latest top news for today. Exxon begins drilling Russia's pristine Arctic waters. Despite increasing Western sanctions against Russia over the crisis in Ukraine, ExxonMobil has begun drilling their first well in Russia's pristine Arctic territory on Saturday. Reuters reported Russian President Vladimir Putin as saying on a video conference with Glenn Waller, ExxonMobil's lead manager in Russia, and Igor Sechin, CEO of Exxon's Russian partner Rosneft, which currently has sanctions imposed against it by the United States. Today, commercial success is driven by efficient international cooperation. Businesses, including Russian and foreign companies, perfectly realize that, and despite certain current political difficulties, pragmatism and common sense prevail, and we are pleased to hear that. The West Alpha drilling rig, brought in by the oil giant from Norway, is the first to tap the earth beneath the Kara Sea. Environmental campaigners have long warned that an oil spill in the Arctic would be devastating to the unique and unspoiled Arctic ecosystem. The territory, slated for drilling, the Akademicheski field in the East Prinovozemelsky 1 license block, overlaps the Russian Arctic National Park and threatens the wildlife at the nearby Novoya Zemlya Russian National Park, according to Greenpeace. Further, the Russian territory does not require the presence of a relief rig, which would be critical to intercepting a spill before it spreads to Arctic ice. An oil spill in these icy areas will be impossible to clean up, and there is no point to go to these extreme areas to drill for oil that the world cannot afford to burn anyway, if we are to stay within safe climate targets. Campaign manager Greenpeace Norway, Truls Golovsen, said. This spring, Greenpeace activists aboard the Esperanza vessel protested in the waters of Åland, Norway, as the rig was being prepared for drilling. In a related development, Greenpeace's vessel, the Arctic Sunrise, returned to the Netherlands on Saturday, almost a year after Russian officials seized the ship and detained 30 activists and journalists for protesting at an offshore oil rig owned by Russian state oil giant Gazprom. U.S. may boost military presence in northern Australia. The U.S. is considering rotating more fighter jets and bombers through northern Australia as part of steps to deepen its defense ties with Asia-Pacific allies. According to briefing notes reviewed by the Wall Street Journal ahead of a visit by U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel, the plan is for more aircraft rotations at an Australian military airbase near Darwin. Australia's Defence Minister David Johnston will discuss the plan this week as part of broader talks including proposals for a larger ballistic missile defense shield for U.S. allies in Asia. The interest here is for tactical aircraft for closer cooperation between the Australian and U.S. Air Forces, said a local defense official familiar with Mr. Kerry's agenda. The U.S. has around 1,150 Marines and other military personnel that it rotates annually through Darwin. It has said it plans to more than double that number to create a 2,500 strong air and ground force in the northern city. U.S. defense strategists value the relatively safer distance of Australian military bases from a potential Chinese missile strike than existing facilities in places such as Japan, South Korea, and Guam, as well as access to large training and weapons ranges in remote areas. For its part, Australia sees a growing U.S. military presence as crucial support to its own relatively small military given the regional instability in the East China Sea and South China Sea. Senior American and Australian military officials are arriving in Darwin this week to observe one of Asia's biggest air combat exercises involving 7 nations. The biennial Pitch Black exercise brings together fighters from the U.S., Singapore, France, Thailand, the United Arab Emirates, New Zealand, and host Australia. The green light for a bigger U.S. military presence in Australia was obtained in June with an agreement between President Barack Obama and Australia's leader Tony Abbott that covers details such as the costs of building extra barracks and facilities in Darwin. The deal, to be formally signed in Sydney this week, the deal also places a legal framework around the U.S. military presence. Thanks for watching. Stay with us on ASI News broadcast with all the latest news from the U.S. brought to you from the American Studies Institute from Tehran. You can also check our website at www.asipress.us.